Hello there. This is Kisu 102 and this is Autumn's Journey. It's an anime game, I think. I do expect it to be. So yeah, seems very cute. I liked it. Okay, let's start. Chapter 1. The End of Summer. That was lovely. Wow, this is amazing. Sunlight filtered through the airy birch forest as the lush ferns grazed my boots. I momentarily shielded my eyes before I turned north, treading carefully. The muggy atmosphere that had hung over the past few months was now being replaced by the subtle crispness of fall. So the trees were still vibrantly green. Apple picking season was fast approaching for the town of Berry. I cheerfully stretched one arm toward the sky, inhaling deeply. And thus my weekly scouting for monsters, bandits, or anything out of the ordinary that may harm local citizens is over. Wow, that was awesome. And that concludes my mission. I laughed, wondering why I wasn't answering my agenda to no one. I guess I always just wanted to say that out loud. Walking around alone does prompt you into monologuing just so you can hear your voice. I wish I wasn't restricted to freelance work in Barry though. How long is my training going to last? I'm more than ready for knighthood. I can do this. I adjust my belt holding my sword, making sure the hilt could be pulled out at a moment's notice. Humming, I decided to meander back to the village by following the thin river down the gentle slope. I love the terrain there. Not super rocky, but not entirely flat either. There was always an inclination, and higher up, I could get a breathtaking panorama of Berry and its endless orchards. Especially in autumn, when the leaves were so brightly red that the entire forest seemed to ignite, and the smell of crisp frost and thick fallen foliage lingered welcomely. It was when I spotted something entirely out of the ordinary near the riverbank, leaning against a birch tree. Thin birch trees were not exactly known to be comfortable resting spots, and I did not recognize the stranger's attire. Hello, are you a traveler? Wow. His face came into view and I realized he was sleeping, but that's not what caught me off guard. He had beautiful protrusions resembling shale shards jutting out of his long hair, right where someone's ears should be. Or was it a decoration covering his ears? I suddenly wanted to touch them, but I resist. If they woke up in a final untimely matter, it will be an awkward to explain. At first I was about to leave, but then I noticed something else rather odd. From a simple glance, I saw no bags, no possessions, or anything else on him. This place was too far away from civilization for a simple afternoon stroll. Was he Mag? And if he had been in Barry previously, I would have known it was that small of a town. Curiosity won me over. Hello? A flicker of concern passed over my face. I grabbed his shoulder and gave it a gentle shake, finding his lack of response unnerving. I quickly hovered a hand in front of his nose. Sure enough, he was breathing, and I did not see any injuries that would suggest he was not unconscious. After some more feeble attempts to wake him, I decided to improvise a camp, but then I wanted to leave him unattended, and I knew I couldn't drag his body very far. Tossing down my back, I went to work. The fire crackled merrily on the birch boards as I opened my cloth, which contained a lot of rye bread and hard cheese. These were emergency rations, lest I wasn't able to return to Bury. Mother and father were probably worried. Just as I was about to bite into the cheese, I saw movement and glanced up, eyeing the stirring stranger. Setting my foot down, I casually shuffled over. I had previously placed his body in a supine position and used my back as a substitute pillow, though it was probably more lumpy than anything else. It was better than nothing. Are you awake now? You've been out all afternoon. I was getting worried. I trailed off before I started rambling and watched him curiously as he opened his eyes. Whoa, that really scared me. In a split second, he shut up, and then clumsily fell back. I hugged his arm to steady him. Whoa, take it easy. She just got up. He flinched from my skin contact, and I hastily let go, returning slightly. I didn't get any sense of hostility, but he certainly seemed bewildered. Who are you? There was an uneasy edge on his voice, not quite one of panic, but more of anger. It was when I noticed that his eyes were a brilliant amethyst blue, contrasting with his earthy pear tones. Better to remain calm. Lee, I found you in the woods outside Barry. The surprise did not leave his eyes. They darted quickly to his hands, which then covered his face. Lastly, he ran his fingers through his own brown hair. The horror on his face was so unsettling that I dumbly sat there for several seconds before mustering the courage to address him again. You're right. Obviously not, but I wanted a better grasp of the situation. He attempted to sit up again, but this time I was prepared. Again, he was repelled by my touch, and I gave up the desire to help in that way. He still appeared unstable, but ceased his hidden movements at least. He actually did it.
The hell?
He said so. He clutched at his temples, his fingers crossing over the odd fixations in the place of his ears. So they did not have that ears. He wobbled as he tried to stand, and I impatiently rose to his side. Stop it! You obviously can't move in your condition, so you might as well sit down and clear your head. Please. What is going on? Who are you and what are you doing here? He looked at me as if he was registering me for the first time since I asked him who I was. Everything about him screaming overwhelmed, and he simply gritted his teeth in frustration. So, are you hungry? I decided to find another angle to help him open. I did not consider myself intimidating, but it was possible he had no desire to answer anything. Are you hungry? I softened my voice and returned to my spot by the fire. I grabbed the cloth and genuinely offered him the rye bread and cheese. He only argued an eyebrow in disgust. What is that? That? It's food. You chew it. I ripped off a piece of dark bread and demonstrated, humming delightedly to show that it was edible. What? What do you eat? He scoffed and averted his eyes. I don't want it. It looks revolting. You asshole. Sorry, my peas and food does not please my lord's tastes. His attitude was rubbing off me. Calm down. If anything, he was hiding that he's scared. He did just wake up in a foreign place. Are you nobility? Maybe you are. He fell silent, and only the occasional crackle of the fire and the hooting of owls interrupted the stillness. And me talking. I leaned back and ruminated over my meal, careful to leave some food untouched in case he changed his mind. And there was that apple tart too. I'll save it for later. I wrapped up the cloth, only vaguely aware that the stranger was examining my every movement. I needled me slightly, but I decided not to comment. I did not want to do anything that would cause him to raise his guard even more. It was now dark, and I casually fed the fire, getting the feeling I was going to be spending the night. After what seemed like an eternity, he finally spoke up. Who are you again? Lee. I'm from the town of Barry. And you? Kerr. He reluctantly uttered the name, gazing into the fire. He seemed much calmer now. It's maybe Kerr. Kerr? And how did you get here? His lip curled, almost smirking knowingly. You probably wouldn't believe it if I told you. You'll never know. You have an unusual eyes and a strange fashion accessory over your ears. Think I can find your story credible. He flicked his hand, straightening his fingers carefully. I didn't come here willingly. Of other places, I don't see why he decided to drop me in this low-born, simplistic... Kerr? Here, maybe? Whatever. He glared at me, as it's offended that I had addressed him directly. So, where are you from? I'm not particularly tied to any region. It is that obvious already. I am not one of you. He tapped his knee petulantly. I am one of the dragons. An earth dragon. He stated it full of pride with no ounce of humility. Obviously, I expected him from head to toe, taking note of the stone-like juts from his ears and his remarkable eyes. He welcomed my stare, but quickly regained his dignity. He bulked under my stare, but his eyebrows furrowed fiercely. So, why will an earth dragon be here? It's not because I wanted to. He blurted out angrily, then touched his eunuch ears to comfort. I sighed, then tilted my head from side to side as I absorbed his explanation. Alright, I'll admit I'm not exactly accepting this as feasible, but I'm not dismissing it either. You can't transform back? If I could, do you think I would remain in this pathetic body? So weak. I instinctively patted my sword, hilt to counter that remark, but stopped when I saw him attempt to stand again. Whoa. It was like watching a toddler take his on her first steps, but instead of cutely coaxing, I was firmly discouraging his words. We already established that you are unfamiliar with your form. Besides, it's too dark to walk around aimlessly. So he's a dragon. Okay, I'll find a walking stick for you and we can return to Barry, if you'd like. It'll feel wrong if I'd abandon you in this state.
I don't need your help.
Yes, you do. I'm pointing it out. Realizing that we were both escalating our voices, I looked away in a huff, now wanting to have an encounter towards source of rapidly. Yeah, when like in a forest, you mean? An altar. I need to find an altar. You haven't kind worship us, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the dragon kind were here first, so it's only natural we pay our respects. I admit, I thought dragons were more divine and irreproachable. Here was definitely giving me a different impression. I barely knew anything about the dragon kind though. They focus on their own affairs. You will take me there. Alright. It was a plain statement, not a suggestion, nor a plea. Exactly. That's what I was pointing out. Why an altar? They're all having kind made. How would it help you? He burned my question exasperatedly. Doesn't matter. You know where one is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. There is one not far from here. There's a cave that leads to it. Relief washed over his face, and for once his cold vanished. Good! We should go there this instant. Excuse me? Excuse me. He obstinately tried to stand up again, but I lurched forward and firmly sat him back down. You can't even walk, man. How am I supposed to take you there? Even though we don't have food, we need to go to Barry. He obstinately tried to stand up again, but I lunged forward and firmly sat him down. I already read that, but my will was as stubborn as his. Morning? We will do this in the morning. Get some sleep and I'll find an ideal walking stick. Because you can't even move. You can't walk like that. I don't think you'll master bipedalism without some assistance. Bipedal. Oh, I understand. Like walking to. Oh, okay. Especially not in a day. And it'll be difficult if I have to physically support you the whole way there. Yeah, who'll protect you, since you're so useless. So, just take it easy tonight. I'll even keep watch while you sleep. After my entreatment, he fell silent and gave a clock nod, closing his eyes wearily. I sighed gratefully, feeling moderately triumphant over the battle of pig-headedness. Right. As Kerr was grumbling, I leaned over and pulled a small blanket out of my bag. The temperature was still pleasant, even at night, but it got cold rapidly, especially since it was the end of summer. After returning some items to my bag, I re-shopped it so it was a passable pillow again, and offered it to Kerr, who seemed puzzled by its purpose. It's a pillow. Right? Believe me, you'll need something comfortable or you'll have trouble sleeping. Worse, you'll wake up with a sore back and getting to the altar will be even more troublesome. Yeah, I know that feeling. You already slept on it once. I think you can figure out how to support your head with it again. I laughed sheepishly as my own stab at lightening the mood, but I could tell it wasn't working for Kerr. Disgruntled, he lay down on his side and experimented with a few positions before resting his head in satisfaction. At first, he refused to use the blanket, but as the temperature dropped, he discreetly pulled it toward him when he thought I wouldn't notice. Probably to hide his expression, he rolled over so his back was to me and the campfire. I had the feeling the initial shock took a lot out of him, and I admittedly hadn't helped when he'd ruffled my feathers more than once. Now that he was sleeping though, my irritation and any irritation I still felt dispersed along with the summer heat. I will need to be mentally and physically prepared for tomorrow. Stay cool and collected, as Autumn. I pocket the fire and stay on my watch until exhaustion bewildered me into resting my eyes just for a few minutes. Something's bad gonna happen and I just sleep on